So let's follow a lap of the Nordschleife with Stefan Johansson on board in our MX-5 production car. Now obviously in the Nürburgring 24 hours there are 4 different start groups, and we're in the slower of the 4 start groups, being in the V3 class. So we're coming to the end of the Nordschleife now and coming onto the straight of the Grand Prix circuit to take the start in our start group. And as you can see, there's a real mix of cars in our class as Stefan accelerates across the line. The race is on. As soon as you see the green flags already, Stefan now is pushing on. Obviously we've got a standard road gearbox in our car, standard engine, but you can see how nimble the car is as we come towards the first corner and the first braking zone. Now the cars are very bunched here, there's a lot going on. Stefan's working quite hard. You can see in front there's a few Toyota GT86s. They're the sort of mainstream of our class. There's 30 odd of those cars in this race, and you can see Stefan already getting involved and making up some progress. Now there's a real contrast to the circuit. The Grand Prix circuit obviously much wider. You'll see the difference when we get to the Nordschleife. Being overtaken here by a couple of much faster cars, an Opel Manta and a Hyundai Turbo with a lot more power than us. But again, you see how on the brakes here on the Grand Prix circuit how much Stefan is gaining. Our car's really good on the brakes, really good through the corners, lovely balance in the chassis. So now we're heading down to the lowest point of the Grand Prix circuit, still very busy, and that's only going to get more busy as we progress through the 24 hours, up to 4th gear. It's 3rd gear for this hairpin on a normal lap. Stefan may take 2nd here at the start because there's so much bunching. As we come out of this hairpin, this is the lowest point of the Grand Prix circuit, and here we're just going to be accelerating up the hill. This next corner is completely flat out, it's not even a lift, so full throttle through this uphill left-hander, and just maintaining full throttle all the way through here. And you can see how the cars with more power are sort of gaining a bit of an advantage at this point. As we go into the braking zone again though, you can see that we gain back up again in the braking zone. You can see the GT86 alongside and Stefan living with it through the corner. Now we're coming towards the end of the Grand Prix circuit, and at this point you're beginning to prepare yourself for the Nordschleife, where everything gets a bit different when you get onto the Nordschleife. So the last couple of the corners of the Grand Prix circuit coming up now. As we come up to the chicane, we use the faster version of the chicane, not the slow version used in for Formula 1, it's the faster version. So it's quite a fast corner as we come through the chicane. And this is the point at which we move away from the Grand Prix circuit onto the famous Nordschleife. So whereas the Grand Prix circuit goes straight on at this point, we make a left-hand turn onto the Nordschleife. It's quite a sharp rise here, so it's a faster corner than you think because you're coming uphill into it. And then now onto the Nordschleife. Straight away you can see how much more narrow the circuit is, and you can probably sense on the camera how much more bumpy it is. This section is really fast, so downhill all the way, quite high speed, building speed all the way downhill, up to 4th gear. This is all flat out, no braking anywhere on this point. Coming up now towards the first big break on the Nordschleife, so braking here, down to 3rd gear. This section also quite challenging. You can see there's not much runoff on the left-hand side. Trying to steer clear of the curbs for a 24-hour race, not really using the curbs too much to look after the car. And all the way through this twisty, challenging section. It's quite a good fun section, this. And now we're coming on to a very fast section towards the Flugplatz, which is a point where the cars tend to get a little bit light and take off a little bit. So coming through here, really important to be on the throttle to carry speed out of this corner because you've got a long straight now. So on the throttle hard, carrying speed onto this long straight, and over the rise there, and you'll be coming up to the Flugplatz soon and being passed by a BMW. But the Flugplatz is here, the car goes very light over this jump, and then there's a fast right-hander. Now all of this is flat out in our cars, not even a lift, not a brake, all absolutely flat out. You can see Stefan had a bit of an oversteer moment there through the corner. And this section again, all flat out. This is one of the real challenges of the Nordschleife, is how fast these open sections are. So all full throttle all the way down here, up to 5th gear. Coming down into the foxhole, there's a big compression coming up. And then now a little bit of a change down to 4th gear, through Swedenkreuz, a fast corner. 3rd gear, big break into this corner. And again, another corner where it's important to get a good exit, because again, we have another long downhill section towards the foxhole where there's a big compression. So all this is flat out. You can see how the cars are all stringing together in a long line, really fast, going from left to right, using the full width of the track. You have to use all the track as you come down these sections. And here you'll see the big compression as we go through the left, big compression there. That's all flat out as well. Then braking and through this left-hander, then a right-hand. You've got to carry some speed through here, and then up to one of the slowest corners on the Nordschleife. So you have to be prepared now for this very slow corner coming up at Adenauer Forest. So here again, controlled on the entry, trying to get a good exit, hard on the power on the exit. You see there's lots of writing on the road. That's all written by the fans who come onto the track the night before the race. And then we're coming up to this sequence of 2 left-handers. So the first one's quite fast. Second one, you have to be prepared and slowing the car down because you have a much tighter corner for the second one. And these are the sort of areas where you really need to know the circuit. This section we're plunging downhill is quite a challenging section. Now coming down towards the town of Adenau, so very bumpy through this section, and obviously downhill, so a lot of speed. Our car's fantastic through here, can keep up with cars with a lot more power because the chassis is so good. So up to 4th gear, and you're really hard on it through here. To the left, back to the right, keeping it tight into the right hand side, really bumpy, really fast, no margin for error down here, but it's all about carrying speed down the hill. And now up to the slowest corner on the Nordschleife. It's really hard braking as you go through the right hand kink, getting the car slowed down for this switchback left-hander. So that's a very challenging corner. Traction's excellent on the exit there, we don't have any problem with traction obviously. And then still going downhill now, down towards Adenau Bridge. And this is the point at which the track goes across the town of Adenau. So a lot of spectators down in this area. And it's also the point at which the track now goes from being predominantly downhill to now really climbing all the way now up towards the famous carousel. But there's a long way to go before you get there. So that corner, fast right-hander, got to carry a lot of speed, a lot of momentum. All the way along this section. Quite a challenging section. This corner coming up, flat out, not even a lift through there. And then now you need to be into 3rd gear, turning in, looking for the apex, and really working on getting the speed, carry the speed up the hill, all the way up this section. And now we are flat out now in the Mazda for quite a long time. So there's real strain on the engine because we're doing about 10 minutes 40 lap time, of which about over 6 minutes are full throttle. So all of this section is full throttle. But as you can see, it's not as straight, so you still need to take a racing line and really position the car through these corners. But again, all full throttle, so lots of time here. It's a good time here to check the dials, make sure everything's okay. And once we get into the body of the race here, you're always being very wary of your mirrors, making sure that those faster cars are going to pass you. You can see here as well the extra speed of the GT86 in the straight line as it comes past Stefan. But again, you should see that Stefan will gain that back again as we come towards a sequence of corners. Again, still full throttle, so it's a long time at full throttle along this section. Really long time at full throttle. Now, first time we're on the brakes. So we're on the brakes here. Now we're still climbing up towards the famous carousel, and that's the next corner. So probably one of the most famous corners on the Nordschleife, the carousel. So you basically approach it, looking for your entry into the carousel, and once you make the entry, then use the banking, the concrete banking, to hold the car in position. As you can see, this kickback through the steering is quite violent, but you use that extra banking to hold the car in position and make sure you get a good exit to fire up this steep hill. And again, this is another section where it's really climbing quite steeply, all flat out. This left-hand kink is completely flat out up to 4th gear. And then we're coming up to this section now where we're coming down to Horacht. So here we go down to 3rd gear, but only really to increase the revs and carry more momentum up the hill. We don't really need to brake there, just the smallest of downshifts just to keep the car working. And now this is one of my favourite sections, so this is really challenging, very fast, starting to drop downhill again now, so keeping the momentum up, really carrying the momentum and keeping the speed up through this section down towards Wipperman corner. This is one of the few corners where you use some curbs, so through the left here you'll see that stay away from the curb, and on the right hand side when the car's unloaded you'll see Stefan using the curb there. Now coming in this section, still really challenging. You can see how Stefan's maintaining the gap to the Toyota, and this is the area where our car's really strong. We've got such good chassis balance that the car's really good through this section. Coming down to Brunchen, this is an area where you see a lot of the fans. You'll see on the left hand side there, huge amount of spectators, so at night time you get a lot of barbecue smoke, a lot of fireworks and a lot of sort of distractions as you come through this section at night time. Again, also a lot of writing on the road. Now you see the leaders. These are the overall leaders already catching the V3 group. So that gives you a sense of how aware you've got to be of your mirrors as the GT3 cars arrive. Massive speed differential, and that makes it a real challenge for both the quicker drivers and for the drivers in the slower cars. Coming down to the Flanskart, there's a big jump here as you go into it, so a bit of a jump there which unsettles the car, but you basically, it's quite a fast right-hander, and from this point again we're on full throttle, so maintaining full throttle through here. It's another one of these sections where you're really threading the needle, maintaining the speed of the car, making sure you're on the right line, and just keeping the momentum up and really piloting the car through this section. I really enjoy this section, it's quite a challenge. Again, you can see the car moving around a bit, Stefan having to work quite hard, maintaining the gap to that Toyota. But again, now obviously having seen the first two cars go past, Stefan's well aware of the fact that we're going to see a lot more GT3 cars gaining on us, and managing that traffic is a really big part of the Nürburgring 24 hours, even on the first lap. Now this next corner is a mini carousel, so it's quite similar to the carousel, and you've got a slightly banked concrete corner, not as extreme as the carousel, but again it holds the car in. And now we're coming towards the end of the lap now, onto the Dottingerhole straight. So this is the last sort of corner before the main long straight on the Nordschleife. So you have to get a lot of momentum out of this corner, make sure you don't lose speed on the exit, because you've got a very, very long straight where you obviously have to sit at full throttle. You can see Stefan using his indicators to tell the GT3 cars where he wants them to pass, and again a real illustration of the speed differential now as they go past. Along here our maximum speed is about 130 miles an hour. The GT3 cars aren't far off 200 as they get to the end of the straight, so again you can imagine a very big speed differential, and you can see Stefan checking his mirrors there. It's not so difficult to have traffic on the straight because you're just keeping on one side, and then it's very easy for them to pass you. As we come down the straight, there's actually at the end of the straight a couple of very fast kink, which is full throttle, so you don't lift off for this kink coming up. So you can see the GT3 cars all streaming past, really close, slipstreaming each other. Stefan slipstreamed the Toyota and is now streaming past that car. This kink is flat out, so if you're brave enough, around the outside, nice and flat, and it comes into a big hole here, sinks down into the compression, and then you're braking in a straight line towards the end of the lap of the Nordschleife. So going down through the gears, this is the last corner of the Nordschleife and coming onto the Grand Prix circuit, and that is a lap of the Nordschleife in the Mazda MX-5.